महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि महादेवमुदं शिरसा नमामि महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि.
This body is designed with an intrinsic entropy. Should disintegrate and go. Make way for others to come and go. This is how the design is. That's why it's called Shariram. Shiryamana Subhavam. Subject to disintegrate, put together. And therefore, these words really do not help us much, but they can be taught properly. Even then, who is the recipient of this teaching? That's very, very important. So the academic qualification is a privilege, is supposed to give you a reasoning mind, the intellectual discipline, where reasoning is possible. What does it mean? An irrational statement, unreasonable argument can be seen as irrational. Pandita Lakshanam Dosha Darshanam. Darshanam only, not Dosha Bhashanam, correct? Dosha Darshanam. You have to see. You have to see through the mistakes. And therefore, Pandita means a scholar, an educated person. So modern education is in one way a blessing, because through maths, physics and other disciplines of knowledge, the education gives you an infrastructure which has the capacity to think rationally. If it cannot think itself out to appreciate certain things, at least when it is shown, one is able to see the credibility of it, the validity of it, and one is not taken for a ride. So any irrational statement should loom large in the firmament of your mind. It should not be swallowed. That capacity is a boon of modern education. Previously, they used to gain this through the study of Nyaya, etc., which is based upon false premises. So, and therefore, it creates another type of infrastructure which is not conducive for understanding what is and what is not. You develop your intellect based upon what is not, and therefore it is confusing to understand what is. And therefore this Nyaya system, even though they evolved perhaps and studied also for the sake of intellectual discipline for want of modern education. Now that you have modern education, you know what is irrational, what is rational. Especially with all the software, etc. The rational thinking has become very sharp and very good, really speaking, and we should give the credit because it is knowledge. Therefore, we have no problem. We don't have secular knowledge, sacred knowledge. All knowledge is sacred for us. Paravidya, aparavidya, sab Bhagavan. And therefore, we don't have secular sacred division. So this modern education is, it's an important thing in the modern society, the current society. It's good, really speaking, for Vedanta it is good. For a theologian it is a problem. Because theologian wants you to swallow big pumpkins. Therefore, from childhood, you have been locally anesthetized. Otherwise, it is very difficult to survive. No theology can survive. It can survive because about God they anesthetize you. God is a matter for belief. It is a matter of faith. That is called local anesthesia or injection. Tap. One injection is all there. Inject an idea. God is a matter of faith. You can't ask questions. It's God's mystery. God knows better. Fortifying that anesthesia. And therefore, that in the brain, that area, God area, subject, and it is locally anesthetized. Numb, dumb, and therefore swallow. Anything they can get away with. Otherwise, these theologies cannot survive. Any rational person, any person who thinks, it cannot survive with that person. The modern society, there are fellows in California and must be all over. In California, if they are there, in the East Coast, there must be more. And then what they do, this one fellow comes and argues with me. God created this world 3,000 years ago. What should I do? I'm talking about this fly. God created this world 3,000 years ago. I told him, this is truth. I told him, hey, some of our houses in India are 3,000 years ago. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? God created this 3,000 years old, 3,000 is nothing. Some of the redwoods, the redwood forest, California, and the coastal redwood, and they have survived 10,000 years. There is one tree, board is there, 10,000-year-old tree. And this tree is there, you can walk through, you can drive through also. And because inside it is hollow, the tree is still alive. 10,000-year-old tree. You drive through. What about that now? Oh, that's all we don't believe. Hey, what is that to believe? Then I asked, I thought I got a winning argument. So against some people, you have no winning argument. So I thought I had a winning argument. What about these dinosaurs? The dinosaur skeletons, we are millions of years old, dug up from California. And he said, we don't believe in carbon test. Okay, they decide about the age by carbon test. So if you don't believe that, then there's no problem. Say, it's not a matter of belief. Carbon test is not a matter of belief. It's a part of science. So science is not based on belief. It is something, it is demonstrated, it is repeatedly told, repeatedly proved, then only you can generalize and formulate a law. And therefore, this is science. And he said, he just smiled and said, Swami, do you accept God as Almighty? Yes. Don't you think God, when He created this world 3,000 years ago, He could also put a few skeletons? Why should you put these skeletons? That is God's wish. He put some skeletons. It's a part of God's wish. He put some skeletons. He didn't put skeleton. I didn't argue afterwards. I'm just telling now. So he didn't put skeletons. The skeletons are leftover of animals that were walking on this earth. But I didn't argue. Once he said, don't you think that you could put a few skeletons also? Okay. I asked him, how will you have your coffee? Because he was in my place where I was staying at that time. It's real, not for a, just I made up. All other stories are made up. this one is real. This happened in Sacramento. The boy was a young man, married and his children, and he is the son of one of our students. That's another fact. And he wanted to change his father and mother too. They gave up on him. He's a born again. This is the thinking. This is theology. There are different types of theology. So आगे पीछे होता है. Concepts are something you cannot accept, irrational. So what is irrational is not acceptable. What you say can be above reason, can be believed, but cannot be irrational and ask me to believe. Because what is irrational is within the reason, within the scope of reason. That is why we can say it is unreasonable. And therefore you cannot accept, it is wrong, foolish to accept. And therefore it is important to have a rational mind, jnana. Number one. This is number one. So that for every discipline is required. Every knowledge requires the intellect. That is why there is no intellectual knowledge. Because there is no other type of knowledge, there is no other. Intellectual knowledge means you are putting an adjective to knowledge. You use an adjective only when there are many other types of knowledge. There is dental knowledge, nasal knowledge, nasal knowledge, nasal knowledge, nasal knowledge. There is no such. Knowledge is always intellectual. Why do they use intellectual? Because they don't understand. You understand what do they mean. There is no intellectual knowledge, there is no mental attitude. This is another thing. As though there is one dental attitude. So mental attitude. I read all this. Mental attitude. Attitude is always mental. And therefore, there is no precision, no thinking. And all this we should be able to see. That's called being rational, being objective. There is direct knowledge, there is indirect knowledge. Paroksha jnanam, pratyaksha jnanam, aparoksha jnanam. You can use those words. Direct knowledge, because there is indirect knowledge. A plane takes off because of indirect knowledge. And there is indirect knowledge. You don't see the electricity there, but you know seeing the light and seeing the fan going, there is electricity. That is inference. And therefore indirect knowledge, direct knowledge. That the fan is moving is direct knowledge. And there is electricity. Behind it, it is indirect knowledge. As valid as direct knowledge. Therefore, we in day-to-day life, we have both direct and indirect knowledge. Knowledge means abhaditam jnanam. That which is subject to scrutiny, vichara. And it is not a matter for belief, is a matter for knowing, and what you know should be true to the object. And therefore, it should not be negated. It can gain more depth, more detail. If you say it is a flower, it is knowledge. And what flower? Rose? Knowledge. But then, if you study botany, then you will talk about species and there will be Latin words and things like that. And then you can know more. If you study plant physiology, and then you have some more knowledge. So you can only improve that knowledge. It cannot be denied, negated. That it is a flower cannot be negated. Therefore it is knowledge. True to the object, flower, abhaditam jnanam. And not only that, it is rose, you cannot negate it, and therefore it is abhaditam. Vastu tantratva. It is as true as the object. And therefore, so knowledge is gained in this manner. And we have been gaining knowledge from your kindergarten onwards. You have been gathering knowledge, gathering structure to gain knowledge. More database you have got, more absorption is possible. Thus you have a certain understanding which is highly useful for understanding Vedanta because it is knowledge. We have to see the unreasonableness in our thinking, irrationality of our thinking we have got to see. And we have to see what I seek is myself means it is a reality problem. The reality of myself is misconstrued. And what is misconstrued, we have to see all the way. Why this misconstruing takes place, what is the reason for it, and why this is what is true. And what is true in the wake of knowledge, there is no question of misperception. How it existed, it becomes wonder. But that's not the issue at all. It is what is necessary is to see through the whole reality, and therefore jnanam antakaranam is called, the informed antakaranam is called jnanam. And the knowledge here being what it is, you have to receive the knowledge that I am the whole. I safe word I am the whole because people don't understand, therefore I am very safe. And I am talking about that. I am the whole means what? Whole means what? I am here, I am the whole. Whole means I am the bugs also, I am the mosquitoes also. I am the fly that wants to enter into my mouth. I am the whole means what? To be known. To be understood. So this one experiential word, the confusing word also, and experiential of course. Therefore you can relate to it. So I am the very happiness that I see. The happiness I experience also is experience of myself alone. So there is no question of one happiness which is stemming from myself and another happiness is coming from ice cream. There is no such thing. So there is no music happiness and ice cream happiness. All these happinesses have got different flavors. The music happiness is different and ice cream happiness is different. Maybe difference in your happiness, in the quality of happiness, degrees of happiness. Happiness is the same. So we think that it comes from here. And then if you analyze it, it is very clear that it is not coming from there. If it comes from there, everybody should enjoy the same music. You listen to the music, you are happy. The other person says, shut it up. So because you are listening, and then you are happy with this music, and your father gets fits. Why? Because this is the type of music. This is the music. That's the type of music. And the father likes the classical form. The classical form. Here it is gudi. So it just happens quickly. Music means it should happen. Kuch na kuch karna hai. So happening music. This is what dragging music. And and then you have to do tambura. And the other fellow says, Baba. So this is the music. And there is something in this. Some people are happy. Some people are, and that is the father. And how he is going to be happy? And this heavy metal rock, and his father gets fits. And the son also gets fits. His fits are different. So if the music can give happiness, it should give happiness to all. It doesn't. Even skunk runs away. Yeah, for this heavy metal music, skunks don't like it. One fellow, I read this news report in San Francisco Chronicle. San Francisco Chronicle, I saw this. So, one fellow was having in his huge yard the skunk problem. Skunk is like a squirrel to look. And it has got a gland which produces some substance which smells for next yuga. Until Dwapara it will smell. And so this is skunk. And if it visits your yard, and whole yard smells. And if it happens to come to your house, you have to burn the house. You cannot do anything about it. Nobody can get rid of skunk smell. And you have to avoid if there is a skunk visiting your yard. He didn't know what to do. What he did, he had some rock music, maybe his son's, and tape. And he put it in those days, this tape recorder. He played it and loud and put it there, put the tape recorder in the yard. And whole day he went on doing this. No skunk came. No, really. Lo behold, no skunk came. Who says this kind of music is useless? So this is not true. It is It keeps the skunks away. Really true. I read this box item. Still I remember that box. So for one it is good, for the other it is not good. Skunk doesn't like it. Old people don't like it. And this man thought, if I don't like it, even skunks won't like it. There's some logic he had, whatever. So, with the logic, he just got rid of skunks. Now, so therefore, no object really is the source of happiness. You draw happiness from yourself. If that is the truth, how come, about all this we will see later, how come I don't know it? Yes, how come you don't know it? I am asking you. How come you don't know it? I don't know. Come on. Then why are you asking I don't know? How come I don't know it? Hey, not knowing doesn't need a cause. So that you are not knowing is itself explained by your not knowing is due to your not knowing, your ignorance. Then why ignorance? Hey, that is because you are not knowing. That is why there is ignorance. But why ignorance came? Ignorance doesn't come. Ignorance goes. You can only ask me how it will go. What is the means of knowing? What all your ignorance, how did you know language? You started with ignorance about language, about the world. This is my mother, this is the father, this is everything. How did you come to know? By shedding ignorance. Ignorance is your capital. You need not gather from Swamiji ignorance. Ignorance is our capital. In the wake of knowledge it goes, because it is there when it is there. And therefore, for this knowledge that I am happiness means you have to receive this knowledge, I am the whole. And already this fellow has lot of issues. He is afraid of cockroaches and he can't give up anything. He can't give also anything. He did not give up. You can give. Neither he can give up nor he can give. All the old dabbas he keeps. Even his garage is without a car, because the car is always outside. Why car is outside? You don't have a garage? No, garage is full. Full of what? Not other cars. Full of old, which he doesn't know how to get rid of. Because it looks like a tire. And therefore should be valuable. All old tin cans, etc., all of them are there. Because they all look nice. They all look nice. All very useful. Kam mein aayega. Kam mein aayega. He keeps lot of kam mein aayega. So it may be useful later. He keeps them. She keeps a few. And some of the old broomsticks and all that are there in the garage. So for the car there is no place. It is outside. Garage is full. These are the people who come to Vedanta. And these will also go to the garage. So capacity to give is not there. Dhanam is not possible. Giving is impossible. That means insecure. Always grabbing, always grabbing. This is little improved bag woman like. Yeah. This is a psychological problem. Incapacity to give up. Get rid of the things. So that capacity is necessary for understanding I am the whole. not easy. And therefore, we have what is jnanam. Only one verse we are going to do, but one verse is explained in a few words. And that words also will include amanitvam adambitvam, ahimsa kshantirajyavam, acharyopasanam shaucham, sthairyamatma vinigraha, indriyarteshu vairagyam, anahankara evacha, janma mrityujara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam, asaktirana vishwangaha, putradara grihadishu, nityam cha samachittatvam, ishtanishtopapatishu, mayi cha ananya yogena, bhaktiravya vicharini, vivikta desha sevitvam, haratirjana samsadi, adhyatma jnana nityatvam, tattva jnanartha darshanam, etad jnanamiti proktam, ajnanam yadatonyata. Om.
Mahaganapatin manasa smarami, Mahadeva mudam shirasa namami, Mahaganapatin manasa smarami. Bharata desha hitaya kuru sevam tvam, kuru sevam tvam, kuru sevam tvam, kuru sevam.